Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by TheLines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weiser. He's on the East Coast. And we're looking at another NBA playoff game here on Tuesday. Got 3 episodes up, including this one as we look at the Grizz and OKC. Maybe we'll get a game, maybe we won't, but we've definitely got some looks for you guys in this one. So make sure to subscribe to that channel and continue to follow along all season with us and check out the other couple games that we have up, as there's a 3-game slate there on Tuesday night, and we're bringing you individual episodes for each of those. We also want to make sure you check out that newsletter. It's going to be coming out a little bit early this Thursday so that we get that NFL draft news for you guys. But we do want to make sure that you're checking out that newsletter. It's in the link is in the description of the video. And Nate and I are bringing you a little bonus parlay in there as well. So make sure you are checking those out Thursday this week. Normally it's on Friday, but we're going Thursday this week. But that said, Nate, let's go ahead and get to some of these looks that we've got here for Tuesday's action between the Grizz and the Thunder.
Yeah, I'm looking for a way to get the under here with the Thunder to still win. And so under 230, which is where it opened, and the Thunder at -4.5 instead of 14.5 would still get you plus 120. And the theory here is that Memphis shows any sort of backbone defensively, and then OKC is right around their team total of 122. And I don't think Memphis can really get to their 108 team total. In fact, they've gone under now 6 straight at OKC, including game 1. They just have their number, right? OKC does, right? I mean, they're like tailor-made to stop Ja Morant with the rim protection behind those guys, and Bane can get the Dort treatment or Kayson Wallace treatment or whatever. I mean, the last 10 now for Memphis, 101 per game, 40% from the floor, 1.4 assist to turnover ratio against OKC. You filter for just the ones in OKC, 98 points per game, shooting 38%. They got to 109, like I said, and then 6 straight unders on the 107.5 team total. And despite all their pace, like they've gone under 230, the Grizz, in 9 of their last 10 playoff games. And I mean, the pace in game 1 was 104.7. That's a typical, I mean, that's a fast Grizzlies game. But all it led to was just handing points the other way in that bloodbath. 22 turnovers. It's just like, might as well just give the Thunder a runway to score rampantly and repeatedly. I mean, I don't worry about the Thunder offense. I don't think that they're going to have that much trouble against this Grizzlies team, but they're typically, in the playoffs, not necessarily like they're more of a half court team, right? They're more of just an SGA, like slow it down, get to your spots. And that's what we saw last year. We saw their absolutely suffocating defense against NOLA just produce, I think, 4 straight unders. The 216 was the highest total in that first round series because they had a 95 defensive rating on their own. So really it's just leaning into the Thunder defense winning this game more than in game 1 where just everything was working and they just put up 130, but they still would have gone well under this total, which is just pretty high for the playoffs.
Yeah, it is. I mean, when their backups come in, it's the problem, and you kind of hope that this thing is a little bit closer. So I think those are definitely correlated there in terms of this game being reasonably close. And the game staying to the under, because I mean, if at the end of the day, Memphis can't hang, man. They just can't hang because their defense isn't good enough. That's what it comes down to. And really, like the Thunder don't have to play fast. But the game going under still leads you towards OKC, because the only way Memphis wins this game or keeps it close is that they outscore OKC, because they ain't stopping them, man. It's just that simple. But like we said too, and you mentioned, like the pace isn't going to be super high for OKC, knowing that they can if they keep this thing in the half court on both sides, it is a wrap. We can call this one a nice clean sweep. So that said, man, I'm just banging my head into the wall stubbornly. I do not care. Zach Edey is a freaking monster. And I'm taking over 10.5 rebounds for him because I can get it even money. Man's had 19 rebound chances in 20 minutes, man. And like, it's actually not really unreasonable to expect that for him. He's had almost, I wanted to know, because rebound chances are a little bit harder to sort of break down the per minute stats, right? If you look at Fantasy Labs on off stuff, you can definitely find like per minute stats for guys. Well, I did the rebound chances per minute stat, and he's at basically 3/4 of a rebound chance per minute anyway. And he's officially at the 30-minute mark when there's anything resembling a normal basketball game being played, and not an historical blowout to the tune of 51 points, right? Which, just a couple of extra notes for that one too. Biggest loss in game 1 history. Desmond Bain had a minus 51 plus minus, the worst in playoff history for any individual player. And the bench for the Thunder outscored the starters for the Grizzlies by 15 points. Just a couple of really fun stats from that one. So if anything, like half of that happens and we don't have a great game, but we might be able to at least get 25 minutes from Zach Edey, who, if this thing is within 15-ish, if it's within reach at all, right, in the fourth quarter, Zach Edey will play those normal minutes, and he's getting 32, 33 in the last series. I mean, he could play more in this one because they're truly living and dying by that man. And they would be living if the guards could play with the Thunder guards. But that's what the end of the story of this narrative of the series is like you said, there could not be a worse matchup for the Memphis Grizz in this one. And so, the threat to the Edey bet is just he gets another 20 minutes. But guess what? Is it unreasonable to think he gets 11 boards in 19 minutes on like 20 rebound chances? I would say it's pretty reasonable. So there's still outs, even if this thing is a blowout. But like I said, keep it within 20, man. He should be at least at 25, if not another 30 plus.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing I seem to be able to read from this is that the new coach, Isolo, is just insistent on playing Zach Edey, and he has a reason to in this matchup, or in terms of like if Hartenstein's out there, right, then they have the double big lineup for OKC. So that plays into me just taking Hartenstein over 22.5 PRA, just being like, well, if they're going to go with the big, we should have him playing alongside Chet, and he can still stay out there against Triple J and Santi Aldama if they do go that route. Because, I mean, this is kind of shades of again, the first round series last year where Joe Val starts the game against Chet, tries to punish him down low, and then gets yanked eventually. And we'll see if OKC can play Edey off the floor that way. I mean, he's done a pretty good job moving his feet though, and he's much younger and sprier than old Joe Val. But Hartenstein, just to think about him, I mean, has actually led the team in passes in the matchups against Memphis this year, 46 passes per game. Not a lot of potential assists, so he's doing a lot of like handoffs and initiating the action. But just the fact that the ball's in his hands to that degree, you got to like it against a team that just cannot guard above the break, bottom 10% everywhere, basically, post All-Star break, wherever you look at opponent shooting. So the assists should be there potentially. The rebounds, I mean, 26 rebound chances his last three against Memphis because they play fast, because they don't have particularly good rebounders, because they weren't playing Edey at that point. But Edey being out there just means there's going to be more contested rebounds. And of the 13 he grabbed in those three, 7.3 were contested. So Hartenstein much better built to mix it up in there with a huge center, obviously, than Chet. That's why they went out there and got him to give him some support. And he's gone over in 7 straight against Memphis, including 5 with OKC, averaging 30 PRA. And I mean, that includes only 26 minutes per game in the last 3 because they've been such big blowouts. But he's still getting 15 RA in 26 minutes per game. So kind of even like the RA more and not even worrying about him, finishing a couple dunks, because his role is not, necessarily to score the basketball. It's just to be an outlet at the end of a possession maybe and score. So if you want to just go 12.5 rebounds, assists, I think that makes a lot of sense, because that's really what I'm leaning into here is the peripheral stuff for him.
Yeah, I mean, you segued into this bet by saying like, well, natural sort of segue into the guy that is sort of the main opponent for Zach Edey. And so as Edey goes, so as the Grizzlies go, so does Edey. As Edey goes, so does iHeart, right? There's like a little bit of a cyclical, not cyclical, it's symbiotic relationship, right? Everyone's going to need to eat for everyone to get filled here down the line, a little trickle down effect for iHeart's minutes. But this is a great series for him if he can just stay on the floor, because there's a real basketball game going on once again, which I think we can stop caveating everything with that at this point. Closing it out, this one actually doesn't even need as big of a caveat, man. J-Dub hit this in the last one, got his assists and his boards, but I'm going to put them both together for over 9.5 RA in this game. It's, look, they're the people are onto this. It's not like J-Dub's going to surprise anybody with his ability to get all these rebounds and assists, but they're still at 9.5 and they should be at 10.5. And maybe, because he got 11 and so they didn't bump it up. And that's, I guess, the reasoning, but there's still a fear that the minutes stay under 30, but this is his series, bro. Like, this is such a perfect series for J-Dub. Like, SGA is the best half court one-on-one scorer in the league. That is not questioned. You can't question that because he's done it now 2 years in a row. but we're talking about J-Dub doing everything else in a series that is all about transition and fast pace and athleticism and being faster and stronger than the other team. And when OKC gets into that game, then this is J-Dub's thing. And this is just low. I don't understand why someone who's at 10.4 on the season, averaging 32 and a half minutes per game, is at 9.5 RA in a game where if this once again is reasonably close, he's at 38 minutes since last season in the playoffs, and he's been dubbed as important as SGA at this point for this, as far as this team's having championship aspirations. And now he's also just crushing Memphis. That's why I say this series is tailor made for him. He's at 13.3 RA versus Memphis a game on the season. Also had 3 blowouts in that one. They won the season series by an average of 18 points per game in addition to sweeping it, right? So like in their wins. So like, yes, J-Dub in this one, minutes could be a problem because of the blowout. But that's the only thing I can see keeping this down. This should easily be at 11.5. In my opinion, you should be bumping this up from his season average, not bumping it down against a Memphis team that is, like I said, just not it's a great matchup for him to be successful.
Yeah, it's an opportunity for SGA to continue to kind of like lower his usage, get other guys involved, and not get in a situation where like they feel like they're leaning on him too much. So prop J-Dub up, right? I mean, who led them in scoring with only 20, I think, last game, unless Aaron Wiggins had more off the bench. But
Yeah, he did.
that's why we saw him go over in the first 4 last series to open last playoffs. He was 7-3 to this number in the playoffs last year and got it in game 1 here. But yeah, I could see more of like some SGA unders when games aren't even reasonably close,
Right.
and that means more of the supporting cast stepping up.
Yeah, if you want to call them supporting cast, I think it's also just like I was saying about who's better for this matchup in a way, and like they don't need to play in the half court that much with SGA when they can just take J-Dub and company. But they're both going to keep going. I think, like you said, SGA doesn't need to have his usage as high as the key here, and he's going to be needing to do some superhuman stuff when they get to a couple other series. But that's all the time we have for you in this one. Hopefully, we're looking for a good game here in game 2, so we keep things a little close, get some of these looks. And until we see you next, happy betting.